Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 36 deadline stream in partnership with FPL Team. And it's live. FPL Team, your best one-stop shop for all your future planning, particularly when you're doing things like double defensive rotations. As ever, I'll be getting through as many of your FPL dilemmas as possible between now and the 1:30 p.m. UK deadline. I will be answering questions in order of submission. Any of them on Mateta to Vissa, please just delete them. I was sick of that shit yesterday, right? I'd do it for free. I wouldn't do it for a -4. There you go. That's it. It's covered. You can delete them questions. Thanks very much. Let's take you through graphics and then we'll do the questions. So my intention is to roll. I'm lining up like this: Sells, Williams, Collins, Vardiol, Salah, Vice, Bumo, Captain, Bowen, Ilanga, Visser, Watkins, Marmoush. On the bench, I have Pickford, Rogers, O'Brien and Kivior. In the event that there's a leak that Josko Vardiol is not playing, I will probably just put Jake O'Brien in the team, I think. In the event that Omar Marmoush is not in the Manchester City team, I will probably buy Matthias Cunha. There is no intention at this moment in time to put Erling Haaland in the team. However, in the event that neither Vardiol or Marmoush were in the Manchester City team, there is a -4 avenue of putting Haaland in for Marmoush and downgrading Vardiol to a cheap defender. I have no idea who that would be. I haven't even thought about it because I think that eventuality is really unlikely, and I probably still would just do what I said: O'Brien in the team and just buy Cunha. I think they have 1-3. I don't really mean taking a -4 on Haaland. My kind of thought process on it is that if he's in the team, he's the best captain this week. But I don't think he is in game week 37 or 38. So I'm going to leave it. That's my intention. In terms of captaincy this week, my preference is Boomer over Visser as the top two, and Salah. As it stands, Marmoush, Haaland, De Bruyne making up my top 6. Also on there, I've got Wood, Isak, Ilanga and Cunha on the top 10. Right at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the ticker for all teams' flag players and their remaining fixtures this season. Above that, you'll see the benching dilemmas, where there are 2 players together. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start. They run in order, left to right, pages 1 to 4, and you will find goalkeepers on page 5. In the bottom right-hand corner, you will also find my predicted lineups for all 20 teams this game week, and the captaincy matrix to the left of me will rotate with my correct score predictions for the games in this game week. Right, that's the graphics covered. If your question's been answered by them graphics, please do us the courtesy of deleting your question. I will very happily still give you a shout out. For those watching live, 10% of you have already smashed a like. Thank you very much. It doesn't cost anything. The other 90% of you can do so now. Tanky's up first. This afternoon, James. I wildcarded last game week, and now I'm considering to do Isak to Cunha. Newcastle v Chelsea could be KG. Thoughts on this? Have all the popular picks like Visser, KDB, Boom. I wouldn't bother. Truthfully, Alexander Isak has shown in many big games this season that he could still go off. It might be that in a week's time you want to go Isak to Watkins, for example. I wouldn't bother personally. I would just leave it be. If I'd have known that Aston Villa and Tottenham definitely wasn't going into this game week when I wildcarded last, I would have left Isak in rather than putting Watkins in. So kind of don't regret the choice, but I even said last week as well that I thought over 35-36 Isak would outscore Watkins. I wouldn't bother moving him, mate. I wouldn't bother doing it. I mean, if you're chasing, then understand it a lot more, right? But certainly if you're protecting rank, no, I would certainly keep him. Sean G says, hi James, hope you're good. Who's the best Arsenal man this week? I'm on Glasner, already have free City. Should I stick? Smash a like, people. I mean, I think Palace will win. It's very clear from Ange Postecoglou's press conference this morning that at the minimum, pretty much the whole of Tottenham's back four is going to change again. And they'll certainly be changed in the attacking position, so we can expect the lineup to be quite similar to the West Ham game. I have an inkling that Bentancur and Solanke will start, but I don't think it will be wildly different from what was largely a second-string team last game week. So, yeah, I think Palace probably do beat us tomorrow. The value in moving that on, if they do, is next to 0, isn't it? It's probably Nuno if you do. I think the bonus one to chase would be McKenna. However, many of us are sitting there with sort of at least Bumo in the team. Many of you wanting to buy Visser. It's counterproductive to do that, right? So it's every case to say, Sean, just leave it. Murphy says, hey James, Mateta to Visser, Sarr to Sade, bench Rogers or roll. I don't mind attacking these transfers for free, but also, as said a lot on my Ask James stream yesterday, I don't really want to be advising people to sell Crystal Palace players when they're about to play a Tottenham team that's going to rotate their whole back four. So know the risk. But that said, I do think Vissa over Mateta, Sade over Sarr are better options this week and probably also next week, bearing in mind we don't quite know what's going to happen with Palace in 37, and bearing in mind they play Wolves 3 days after the FA Cup final. So I understand if it's for free, I'm going to say yes, I probably would chase it. Gavin Richardson says, hey James, you biscuit. I'd like to think I'm a milk chocolate digestive or penguin bar. My mates would probably say I'm a custard cream, pink wafer or hobnob. What biscuit would you be? I'm Fox's cookie, mate. Wow, bangers, mate. JP says, hi mate, would in for Mateta or hold? I'm going to say hold. I actually think possibly again depends on your avenues next week. If you want to move on to Watkins, for example, what's the value of that extra transfer? Again, is Wood a better option than Mateta on this week? Yes. Are you happy with Wood at West Ham? You probably are. So if you want to move, do so. I have reluctance in telling anybody to sell these Crystal Palace players this week. Patrick Clivett says, hi Jimbo, congrats on Thursday. On Glasner from last week, worth a free swap to Frank. Big game in the cup for big pound, so every point counts. Transfers could be handy for next few game week though. Exactly that. I mean, if I think Palace win, ultimately it comes down to that, Patrick. Do you think Palace win or not? If you do, no point. I don't think we could look at Brentford and say, oh, they're a certainty to win away to Ipswich. It's not, is it, right? Ipswich very nearly got a result at Brentford earlier in the season, so I'd probably leave it be, mate. Spooky Sorcerer says, hi, James. Current plan is Mateta to Vissa now. Marmoush to Evan Nilsson in 38. If leaked that Marmoush is benched, sell him for Vissa or bench him. Play Murphy and do Mateta Vissa. If Marmoush, if there's a leak and if there's anything coming through, I'll try and share the information that's obviously going round. It's going to be late, guys. I'll make sure you're logged into your teams. In the event that Marmoush was a confirmed substitute, I would sell him, mate. Ian from Melbourne says, evening, James. Finally using the bench boost this game. We can afford anyone, but is it worth a -4 to get a playing goalkeeper? Hit that like and subscribe all. So, are you saying that you don't have one? If you don't have a goalkeeper at all, I'd probably chase it. Yeah. But make sure you're picking something that's also going to at least improve your team. You know, a player that you want to play in the next couple of weeks who's better than your other goalkeeper, for example. Make sure it's that, Ian, and then you can justify it. Kenneth Faz says, triple captain Vissa or De Bruyne next week. I don't think you'll be doing De Bruyne next week, mate. Even if you did think, oh, he's a certain starter against Bournemouth. Well, what happens if he gets injured in the cup final? So I don't really think you can captain a Man City player next week, and it's not Bournemouth at home. It's not exactly screaming brilliant fixture, is it? So it's this week. I would not be going De Bruyne unless it is confirmed that he's starting. I will not be surprised if he's not in the lineup. I do think he'll play. He's in my predicted City team, but it won't surprise me if he's not. So Vissa, if that's the way you're going. AG29 says, hi James, start Barnes or Minter or bring in Gibbs White Sade from -4. On free hit 38. I would chance Kevin Sade there, mate. I think there's every chance Anthony Gordon will come in the team for Harvey Barnes. So that's the player that I'd be selling. Minter, you could never be certain from one game to the next if he's going to play or not. He probably does, but you could never be certain of it. So I would chase that. with Kevin Sade, mate. Chris Bruce this afternoon, 1 free transfer to Saliba to Milenkovic, Sarr to Sade, or Mateta to Vissa. Cheers. Well, by virtue of the fact that Saliba doesn't play for Crystal Palace and therefore doesn't play Tottenham this week, I'm going to say buy Milenkovic. Vivek Gore says, hi James, bench 1 from Timber, Bradley and Konsa. Timber, I think, because I think there's every chance Ben White will start. So I think that makes that fairly straightforward. Tanky says, best KDB replacement if he doesn't start. Don't be frightened to come down and chase Sade. I really like that as a move for Anthony Elanga as well. I think they're actually probably the 2 best 2 to buy this week. And it might be that you go, I don't know, example, you go KDB to Sade now. And then next week you're going like Murphy to Palmer or Saka, right? It might be that that's the best way of playing it. So I think on the face of it, yeah, it's probably Sade or Elanga, working on the assumption maybe we've already got Bumo. I wouldn't go for a different Manchester City midfielder. Someone asked me that yesterday. Said if not KDB, which Man City midfielder? I was like, none. None. Wouldn't fancy it. Throw Jared Bowen's name into the mix as well, obviously, if you don't own. David Hannigan says, hi James, have Murillo on bench boost with 2 free transfers. Should I just swap to Nico Williams? I'd be pretty surprised based on Nuno's comments yesterday if Murillo didn't start. But I also have that haunting feeling that I said similar about Aaron Wan-Bissaka before West Ham played Southampton and he didn't play either. But I can only tell you as I read it, I would be surprised if Murillo did not play for Nottingham Forest. Murillo in partial training is probably enough. In partial training, he got injured on Monday. This was Nuno speaking, yesterday, or was it even Thursday? Game's not till Sunday. I think he'll play. So I would leave it. Tom Hall says, -4 Mateta to Vissot or -4 Saka to KDB. Team news dependent. Bench boost is active. 45 in front in mini league. Well, exactly that, Tom. Team news dependent, right? If you see KDB in the team, that's what you're going to do, isn't it? Andrew Howard says, hi James, would you move Murphy onto a Langer if it meant benching Palmer this week? I'd probably move Murphy on anyway. I do think Murphy will still start. I think he'll be important in Newcastle's next couple, but I also wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start in game week 38. So yeah, I would chase that personally. Teok Song says Isak to Cunha/Wood or Sartre Langer, trying to climb from 250k to 100k. If I do the former, I'm also considering Sartre KDB for a hit. I'm going to say Langer, mate. JP says, is bringing Sade for Saar worth it? Sure, chase it. Free transfer. Hit, no. Harade says, start Bradley on Munoz. I'd go Bradley, mate. Uros Milicevic says, hi James, sell Mateta to Vissa or dunk Bradley to Williams. Roll and sell Mateta next week for Watkins. Dunk to Williams feels decent move. I certainly wouldn't sell Conor Bradley at this point if you owned. Wouldn't be buying him, but wouldn't be selling him either. Mateta to Vissa, yeah, if it's free, it's fine, as covered right at the start. Quite like that Dunk to Williams move, though. I don't know how much you'd have wanted to use Lewis Dunk across the last 3 games, so I quite like that. Voshon says, good morning from US of A. James, hope you're well. Am I mad to bench Isak for Semenyo to go against his ownership? And do I take a -4 for Mateta to Vissa, chasing mini legally at 18 deficit? No, I wouldn't advise that. I understand your point, though. You're half explaining yourself in terms of chasing, but that's not what I'd be doing. You're more likely to find your 28 points down by the rest of the week, personally. So, no from me. And also, if you want to take Isak on, then why not just consider the -4 of Isak to Vissa rather than Mateta to Vissa? Something to think about. I don't like it, though. John says, start Rodgers or Mitoma. Thanks, mate. I think Rodgers, I think we've got to accept that Mitoma, he may well play, but he's been carrying a heel problem since the defeat at Crystal Palace, which, I don't know, game week 30 or something, that's seen restricted minutes for him. As far as we're aware, he's trained well this week, but you know what you get on the tin from Morgan Rodgers, and I do think there'll be goals in that Bournemouth Villa game. Zaris says, what's the best goalkeeper to use bench boost of the remaining? 3 Newcastle, 3 Palace, 2 City, 2 Brentford players, plus Salah. Next week I'll be in London. Hope to see you randomly in a pub. Do you mean this week? Because the week after I got somewhere else to be. Come Spurs! Best goalkeeper. How many Forest you say sells, right? Would be my answer to that. And by the way, just as a general note, for those who got the bench boost left, my recommendation would be, and obviously I can't see your team, so it is team dependent, but in most cases, I would get rid of that this week, right? Game week 37, better set, and then you lose 2 players for injury from the FA Cup final or something. Crap. 38's liable to have rotation anyway. Crap. I'd be getting rid of that this week if I could. Next up is John Webb. What's your general thought on transfers to block when holding a mini league lead, i.e. Mateta to Vissa, for example, to block the rival? Perfectly reasonable, John. If that's your objective, yeah, of course, right? Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. If that's what you want to do, is just block, go for it, mate, yeah. Listen, everybody will be different in terms of what they want to achieve at this stage, right? But everybody will have their own kind of individual targets. I would say if that's what you want to do it, mate. D.80 says, hi James, start Alisson or Sarr, and would you take a -4 to go from Marmoush to Haaland if we get news that Marmoush doesn't start? 8.4 million in the bank. As you can do it in kind of one go, maybe so. As said at the start, I don't really intend to be putting Haaland in here, but I'm not going to promise you that I don't. Because fuck it. It's that late in the season. Generally speaking, probably Marmoush more to Acuna. But if Acuna's going to be the hit, then you might as well do it for Haaland. So I get that. Alisson v Saar would go Alisson. AG29 says, is it worth selling Trippier for Nico Williams for a -4 on free hit 38? No, not for me, mate. No. Big Chief says, hi James, who should I downgrade Bowen to for the rest of the season to get Nuno? Arse man, cheers. Arguably don't. Might be the correct answer there. But I'm going to say that those cheap names that I mentioned earlier, right? So Ilanga, Sade, who did specifically say downgrade. Take your pick preference from them, mate. Ralph Reese says, hi James, Salah to KDB till the end. I'm not convinced. I'm really, really not, personally. KDB has not scored a Premier League away goal for over a year. Okay. 2 away games left. Home game. He may start all 3. He might not start any. I would have no interest in bringing him in this week. Truthfully. Even if his shares sitting in front, I've got 5.7 million in the bank. I'll go and buy him so easy. I have no interest in bringing him in at this moment in time. So I can only answer that in the same way that my own thought process would be. So taking Mo out, no. I might even be captain Mo still next week and on the final day possibly. Hasselbank's win says, is it time to give some respect to Enzo Fernandez? 9 goals and 11 assists this season, one of the players of the year. Done great and been a really, really good fantasy asset that probably people don't quite realise. And I think it's possibly subject to what Chelsea do tomorrow and what other teams do. He might be a really good pickup for the last 2 game weeks as well, actually, for people finding their neighbour. Buying him this week before Newcastle away doesn't feel quite right. Jack B says, Marmoush and Agbadou to Ruben Diaz and Cunha to Vissar worth a -4. Not for me, Jack, unless Marmoush wasn't in the team, mate. David James Whiteway says, James, hope Spurs destroy Manchester United, mate. Thank you very much, mate. I'll take a win on penalties as it stands. Josh Davis says, hi James, non-FPL question, but which player in the UCL final do you think would cost the most in the transfer market? Enjoy Bilbao, come you Spurs. Which player would cost the most in the transfer market? I suppose at the moment it's probably Dembele, isn't it? I would think from the 2 teams, yeah. Or I tell you what, Desiree Doué, because of his age, would not be cheap either. Hakimi would have to go for mega bucks. But I think the right answer, because of his form over the last 4 or 5 months, would be Dembele. Voyas Verta says, hey James, can you suggest a wildcard team from now to the end of the season? Yeah, it's on screen, top right, mate. Because when I picked my team last week, it didn't look fantastic for last week, but I think it looks pretty good for this week. So generally, if I was wildcarding right now, it wouldn't be looking much different to what I've got. Marmoush might not be there, maybe. I'd maybe just go Cunha. But mind you, there's a chance Watkins wouldn't be there. Honestly, wouldn't be that different to what I've got. Really wouldn't be a lot of difference at all. The team was set to rotate through these weeks. Snicko says, hey James, Saar to Sade for free. Thanks for the great content as always. Yeah, it's fine if you want to do it. Voshon says, also for my wife's team, Murphy to Bowen for free only, or -4 to do Mateta to Visser also. She's close to 100k. If leaks say KDB starts and Marmoush bench, def taking the -4 for KDB and Visser. So you know what you're doing under certain circumstances. Otherwise, I'm going to say no, just a free transfer. Adam says, hi James, if we get news Haaland starts and Marmoush's bench, would Salah, Gordon and Marmoush to Haaland for -4 be a good shout? I said I'm not going to chase it, mate. So I can only answer it in the same way as I did right. For those who didn't hear what I said right at the start of the stream, please listen back to it. Jerry Damayu says, hello Jimbo, if you can only remove one between Mo and Isak, who will it be? I'm 125k right now. I'm planning to chase top 100k, maybe even top 50k. The answer to your question would be Isak, purely because I think you could pick 3 outstanding forwards in the game right now without Alexander Isak being one, and I think you're going to struggle to pick 5 outstanding midfielders. That's literally what this answer is about. Off the Biscuit says, hi James, do you think a 50-point deficit to mini league rival is impossible at this point? Also, if both starting, who has the highest ceiling, KDB or Boomo? Probably KDB, in the sense, you know, could rock up with like a hat-trick of assists and a goal or something. You wouldn't kind of foresee Boomo matching that, I don't think. You've got to nail the captaincy. So you've got to go different. Whatever your opponent is going for at this stage, if that's your objective, you've got to go different. I'd be really chasing differential captains at this point. And look, the second it goes wrong, it's over, isn't it? If you go differential captain, it blanks and your opponent's captaincy goes off, it's game over. But if you hit the captaincy well enough, yeah, you can go for it. Okay, next up, Doris Sam Maguire. Hey James, sorry in advance. Pending robot news. Salah and Marmoush out for Elanga and Captain Robot for -4, or Mateta for Cunha, or Sarr for Elanga, or both -4. Smash a like for the boss. My preference out of all them moves probably would be Sarr to Elanga would be the preference from all of them, I think. Yeah, I've said my piece on the Haaland. Abdul Hamid says, good day, James. 1 free transfer, 3.5 million in the bank. Saliba to Milenkovic or Murphy to Sade. Have Visser and Boomer looking for a safe punt. Lol, currently in promotion spot in Loco Lord League 3, so need to hold that spot. Yeah, I'd chase the Brentford points, mate. There you go. Tanky says, just wanted to say thanks for the streams pods. As always, you're very welcome, Tanky. Have a great weekend. Scott Park says, Mateta to Visser and Rogers to KDB from -4. Not in love with it. It's the truth. Nihar says, good afternoon, James. Do you reckon Cunha better for the next 3, or is Sack this week plus Evan Nilsson next 2 better? Cheers and smash the like button, everyone. A little conflicted if what you're trying to do there, because I wouldn't buy Isak at this point, but I'd said earlier I'd be reluctant to sell him as well. I guess by virtue of Marmoush was not in the City lineup, and I'm talking about buying Cunha rather than Isak, probably answers that question, doesn't it? But I wouldn't move Isak to Cunha. If that's what you're thinking, I wouldn't bother. Shazid, I think Evan Nilsson is okay for this week. Not great for 37. Might be getting captained by a lot of us in 38. Shazad Gill says, afternoon, James. Would you play Conser versus Bournemouth or Munoz v Spurs? Cheers, bud. I would play Daniel Munoz, mate, for the attacking stuff available there, mate. Sounds way more fun to me, personally. Just checking on a couple of messages. Nothing, as yeah, again, anything that does come through on Man City, I'm assuming is going to be very late, right? Wasn't it like 1 minute before deadline last time? So be prepared for the site to crash and have frustrations of other people. Please transfer responsibly, right? Jay Dobrowski says, Saka or Rogers. Just think Villa will win by a few today, and Arsenal might feel sorry for themselves, but seems silly having Saka first sub. Hope you will anyways. Good luck in the final. Close one, that, mate. But I feel like you've answered your question in what your own beliefs are. So you've got a belief there. You think, Villa will win by a few today, mate. You've answered your own question, I think, haven't you? So go with that, mate. Zaris says, let's help our FPL God. James, like and subscribe. It free. Cheers. Thank you, Zaris, my friend from Greece. It's about 20% of you smash a like. Doesn't cost anything, people. Please smash that thumb. Urus Milicevic says, start Rail Verbruggen, mate. Although, one's going to be a 1-pointer and the other one's probably going to be a 1-pointer. Velin Nakov says, best Livramento replacement. I'm on a bench boost. Own Kepa, Sells, Vardio, Collins, Tete and Robinson. Thoughts are between Ray and 8, Nori, Coyote or Ruben Diaz. Maybe another James. Yeah, I'll give you one, mate. Just keep Livramento. I don't know if that's worth moving on. I'm thinking about your team for Gameweek 38 and stuff as well, mate. I'd keep Livramento. I think I'd keep Livramento. Just go with it, mate. I think Newcastle Chelsea will be low scoring. I say every week about Chelsea games. I think they'll be low scoring. I'd just leave Livramento, mate. And you've got the benefit of that transfer for something else next week. Good luck. Angus Chow says, chasing rank here. Would you consider Sade captain? Already own Boomer and Visa. Yep. It's fine. You've answered what your purpose is here. So you want to go like for an outrageous differential captain this week. Be my guest, mate. Good luck. Meninda says, any chance for FPL meet up in Bilbao? Not impossible. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like, hey, live from the tapas bar in Bilbao. Like, it's not going to be like that, but I might be like, I'm going to be here at this point if anyone wants to come and say hello for an hour or something. Yeah, there's a possibility of that. Angus Chow says, chasing rank here. Would you consider I've done that? Shout out Taha. Hope you're well. John says, hello, pal. Start one of 8 Norrie, Robinson or Kirkes. Cheers. Ooh. I think 8 Norrie. I think they're the most probably likely winner, I feel, personally, out of those choices. Maybe not Robinson, isn't it? I just feel like 8 Norrie can be your mega one. Do you know what I mean? Like he was in the blank game week. So probably just about that. Yeah, tough one that. And here's the good news for you, John. All good options for this week, right? All good options. After Biscuit, hi James. Already sat at -4 this week to get Visser and KDB. If we get news Marmouche isn't starting, would you take a further -4 for Wood or play Murphy? I talk about this sort of thing a lot. That you shouldn't determine your final decision by your previous decision. So your move's already made. If you said, oh, I want to do all this for -8, I'd be like, calm down. But the other transfers are made. So then just on the face of it, Marmouche not starting, Chris Wood against Leicester, is that worth a -4? The answer is probably yes. Jerry W says, non-FPL question, aside from the Bodo Glimt second leg, which away matches have you missed as a season ticket holder this season? So there's a few in Europe. I didn't go to Ferencvaros, didn't go to Galatasaray, I didn't go to Hoffenheim. In the league, I couldn't go to Manchester United. I couldn't go to Nottingham Forest. I didn't go to Liverpool. I'm not going to Aston Villa. So there is a deadline stream on Friday. Couldn't get a ticket for Bournemouth. I think that's it. I think. I'm just scanning through the games. Yeah, pretty sure. Yeah. Brentford, I couldn't get a ticket. I couldn't get a ticket at Brentford either. So I'm all in. What have I done? Probably including cups. I went to Villa. I went all the cup games. Went to Coventry. I went to Liverpool. Who did we play in the last 16, the League Cup? God, mind blank. But wherever it was, I went. I feel like it was home. God, I can't remember. We beat Man City at home. Yeah, of course I went. FA Cup. Oh, I couldn't get a ticket for Tamworth. I went to Villa in the FA Cup. I couldn't get a ticket for Tamworth. So I suppose I've done about 12 in the league. It's going to be 4 in Europe, plus another 3 in the Cups. I think so. It's probably about 19 away games all in. It's not bad going, is it? I deserve my ticket for the final. Next up is Ryan Mack. Hi, James. Not sure if your Spurs bias is rubbing off after listening to hundreds of hours of Planet FPL. I'm happy with my Palace 3, but a lot of people selling Mateta. How do you see minutes for Sam Mateta? Minutes will be strong. Like, I wouldn't have that concern. I think Palace will probably be the same lineup that played Nottingham Forest on Monday, bar Adam Wharton's obviously been ruled out. So be probably Will Hughes, could be Jefferson Lerma instead. I think, 6 days before the final, I think Palace split their strongest team. I think the minutes will be strong for these guys. There's every chance some catches coming on for Mateta with like 15 minutes to go or something. But minutes should be pretty strong there. So certainly don't sell on a minutes basis. I think it's interesting. I read something this morning that was like, I'm going to sell Mateta this week, but I've got plans to get like Rodgers and Watkins next week, attack Tottenham. And it's like, you do know that it's Tottenham are now rotating this week, right? Not the Villa game, this week. Nah. So look, if people want to go Mateta to Vista this week, right, I get it. Even despite Tottenham's troubles, the fixture appeals. It's better next week and the week after as well, right? So justifiable. And also I think it feels like the last chance, I think, to buy a Brentford. Because you're like, I've missed Man United and Ipswich, and now I'm going to buy Brentford afterwards. Doesn't feel right. So you feel compelled to have to do it now. So I understand. But as I've said several times yesterday and again today, I'm very reluctant to tell anybody to sell a Crystal Palace player when we're about to play Tottenham. They probably beat us tomorrow, right? We don't really care. To be honest, Crystal Palace don't really care either, and that also wants to be factored in. Luke Stevenson says, assuming he starts today, I wouldn't do that. Do you think KDB starts against Bournemouth? Also, if we don't get a leak, should I do KDB to start? Like, do I think he starts? Yeah, sure, probably. But I don't think we should just assume, It's the last home game. He's definitely going to play against Bournemouth. I'm sure KDB would rather play the FA Cup final. And ultimately, with how he is, his recovery from that final might be what matters most. Sergio Aguero, when he scored on the final day against Everton in the COVID season, which was the last opportunity to have a few fans in the ground, Sergio Aguero scored those 2 goals from the substitutes bench. He did not start. That was Aguero's last game for City. He did not start. So I think people will do what they want with their narratives, and that's fine. You ask me, do I think? I'll say yeah, but a little more than think. Abraham says triple captain KDB or Bumo this week or another option. Well, unless you're telling me with certainty that KDB's playing, it's the other option, mate. Andrew Jarvis says to bring Haaland in, I'm taking out Salah. Would you do Marmoush or Watkins to Haaland? I mean, ultimately, Andrew, this is going to depend totally on what we potentially hear in the next 27 minutes or so, isn't it? That's ultimately where the answer to that is. I have looked at it myself, considered the idea, because I could go Watkins and Marmoush to Haaland and Cunha from -4, and you do think it's not so bad. The attractiveness of Watkins for next week is not what I'd hoped it would be for fantasy purposes. Still a good fixture, and I may still captain him, but it doesn't feel like a I've got to be there kind of gig where it felt like I maybe would have to be. So maybe the answer would be Watkins. I just can't believe if Marmoush is in the team, you're not going to sell him, are you? Really? Just that don't make sense. CM Punk 2310 says, which combo would you prefer? Have Isak in 35. Yeah, I wish I did, mate. 9-pointer, that was good. And Rogers Palmer in 36. Or have Visser in 35. 7-pointer last week. And Eze and Visser in 36. I'm going to completely presume here, mate, that you meant 36 and 37. I'm going to say the option with Palmer. Ayub Seller says, is Vardy party triple captain next week a mad idea? One last dance, maybe. You're talking yourself into it, Ayub, and if you really like it, then I wish you the very, very best of luck, mate. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. John Ejiguru, Collins for Kirkes. Not sure I'd bother, personally. If it's a choice between which one of the two to start, then yeah, I would go with Collins this week. But I'm not sure I'd make that as a transfer, personally. Brentford are always liable to concede goals, so I wouldn't bother with that, personally. Just checking a few messages, see if there's anything coming in. No. Sorry, useless that for the stream, but I'm just reading some stuff. Ross Courtney says, who would you downgrade out of Munoz, Milenkovic or Saliba? Answer to that might come down to how strong you look in game week 38, right? Because Saliba's certainly the strongest of that trio for 38, and you shouldn't necessarily overlook that. I certainly wouldn't be selling Milenkovic at this moment. That would make no sense. Case to say, therefore, the answer might be Munoz, subject to how your other two defenders for 38, I guess. L. Paul says, got one FT, triple Villa, and a front line of Isak, Mateta, or Marmoush. Want Visser in for Mateta this week and Watkins next for Marmoush, which needs a Rashford sell. Debating a hit now to bench Rogers. What's the question, mate? Can't see one, so I'm only going to say good luck. Prashan says, hi James, thoughts on a -4. Mateta or Marmoush to Visser and Murphy. Sorry. Mateta or Marmoush to Visser and Murphy to Ilanga or Sade. I think the fact that the second one in there, and that's kind of your hit, I think should be chased, yeah. Ultimately, Mateta Marmoush is decided by the City lineup. You're not selling him unless there's confirmation that he's not starting, as far as I'm concerned. On the other two, I have a little preference on Ilanga, I think, out of the two, but close. I really like the idea of picking up Sade. And if I'd not committed to the treble Brentford in the way I did, he'd be right under consideration to add for me this week. Simon Baker says, James, on top of mini league, but only by 8, and rival has triple captain and free hit in hand. Should I chase City now, have Guardiola only, or roll again to have an effective free hit in 38 with 4 times free transfers. Would Isak Visser my forwards? Yeah, that's good, Simon, the front three. So about seeing the rest of your team, yeah, I'd leave it be. I've got no interest in any other City mids. I get the KDB appeal, obviously, if there's confirmation of the team. Wouldn't be buying him otherwise. Wouldn't be going double defence, personally. Shani Russell says, Big James, you absolute legend. No questions, just one. Have a brilliant weekend. Thank you, you two. And 2, no sightings of Clates this week. Noggin rub to bring us good luck from the FPL gods. Hit a like, you freeloaders. Thank you, mate. Clates will be doing a game review pod on Monday, so be... okay, thank you for that, Sham. So, getting a report of a Haaland start, which I'm just going to check source on that. So that's from Lazy FPL, saying that Haaland starts. There you go, guys. Look, take that news with the usual warnings that come with it, but Lazy FPL been very, very reliable. They will tell you themselves that their accuracy rate is 99%. It's not 100%, so you know the risks if you follow that, but I would say that is pretty reliable. If you want to go Erling Haaland, that door is now open for you. That does mean potential toes for Marmoush, maybe, and it should also add caution for Kevin De Bruyne owners. I've said this, so many warnings for a very, very long time about Haaland and De Bruyne in the same team. Now, Southampton this weekend don't matter, okay? City will play differently with Erling Haaland in the team. It cannot play the way they've been playing recently with him in it. Cannot be any clearer about that. Next up is Scott Alvarez. Thank you for that, Sham, by the way, top man. Scott Alvarez, live and share to Sade and Diaz. Live and Saar. Sorry, I've misread it. Livramento, I presume, and Ismail Sarr to Sade and Diaz. If they're for free, I don't mind. Thank you, Jack, for that as well. I'm not hugely keen on it. It improves things now. Just double check on what's left for your remaining guys. Particularly what I said to someone else earlier about Livramento for Gameweek 38. Paul says, also, my country's at war and I'm out here contemplating the hit, hoping for peace all over. I echo that, my friend. D.80 says, is Saka being overlooked considering Liverpool players have been on holiday this week? Feel like there could be goals in that game. You crack on then, mate. There's every chance I'll be buying Bukayo Saka next week, but I'm not chasing it for anything I've got this week. And I've said this already this week, that I think there's every chance that game's like a 4-2 tomorrow or something, right? It probably won't be, but I don't think we should be surprised if it is. David James White says, got a good feeling about Sade this week. Jacob Frost, hi James, 50 points behind with Arseman this week and next on Glasner. Is it worth a transfer this week or just go Bournemouth next week? What's the best differential midfielders this week under 6 million? You're going to go Bournemouth next week away to City. Oh. There's others I'd chase for bonus next week. They'd probably be better than that, mate. I'd probably Potter being one, for example. Differential midfield, Sade Alanga, mate, straightforward. Prashan says, is it worth it to sell Bowen instead of Bowen to KDB for a -4? Means playing Rodgers at this moment. I'm going to say no. Nicola Torco says, James, we've just won free transfer. Would you go for Isak Visser, other attacker Marmoush and Wood, or for Burns to Nico Williams, only affordable Nottingham Forest defender? Defenders are Brian Munoz, 8 Norrie. Bench which of these 3 for Nico Williams? Thank you, because that was a really hard question to read, Nicola. So bench which of Munoz, 8 Norrie, O'Brien, Brent O'Brien. Burns to Williams, okay. Again, consider Gameweek 38 and your potential thinking. Looking at the rest of your team, you might not land great for 38. You've got to think about that. Don't be making really defender transfer at the end. You might not land great for that. This activist, I'm not keen. Tell you the truth. Just not. Isak's the best forward in the game, really, pound for pound, isn't he? Kieran Murphy says, hi, James. Okay. Also, Lazy FPL coming in right now. Kevin De Bruyne starts. Omar Marmoush does not. So we got a KDB start. Omar Mamouche not starting. That's from Lazy FPL confirmed. So Lazy FPL reporting Kevin De Bruyne starts, Erling Haaland starts, Omar Mamouche does not. Thank you again for that, Sham, Jack. Much appreciated. I really didn't want to be making a transfer this week. Okay. Bear with the fact that I'm going to have to do something with my team. Right? But let's do a couple of questions first. Next up, Kieran Murphy. Hi, James. Hope you're keeping well. Need to find money for Bilbao, mate. Need to find money to bring in Bumo for captain. Thoughts on Isak to Evan Nilsson to fund either Sarr or Semenyo to Bumo, and who of Semenyo or Sarr would you sell? I'd tell you what, mate, I'd only be chasing Bumo at this point, mate, if you were looking to protect. Otherwise, I'd probably take him on. There's enough other good alternative options. Like, consider Shardo. Consider Vissa. I think it's got to be Bumo. Suddenly now, 3 weeks ago, I've got to go Bumo now. You could just go, keep Isak, just go like Sarr or Semenyo to Shardo, right? I'd be considering that, mate. Again, depends what you're trying to achieve. Noah says, hi, James. Would you triple captain Bumo this week? I'll wait for 38. Thanks. I'd go now, mate. Steve Grizzly says, hi, James. Non-FPL question for you. Plan to go to White Lane to watch the Europa final. Where would you say is the best area to watch the game, as they're only showing on the 4 big screens? Come you Spurs. Probably on a concourse. Yeah, truthfully, probably on a concourse. I would suggest, it's really not ideal. I'm trying to think, even I'm row 6. It's not ideal. It's not great. But can I be honest with you? I wouldn't bother. If I couldn't go to Bilbao, I would not be going in the stadium. If I was, I'd watch it on the screens in the concourse, I think. You'll have a better view than trying to strain your neck in the stadium. So I'd just watch it on the concourse and have drinks there, mate, I think. TVs are good on the majority of the concourses. I would consider just doing that, mate. Maybe even in the chicken shop. The chicken shop in the stadium. Yes, there's a chicken shop in the stadium. Got a big screen. I wouldn't bother in the stadium. It'll be shit. You're going to be, whatever you do, you're going to have a seat and the TVs are going to be like here where you want to watch, right? It's not going to be good. I would say if you're on a lower tier, you've got a better choice of, like, the floodlights aren't going to be in your way. So in the upper tier, floodlights be in your way a little bit. If you're looking across, you have to look to one of the ones on your side. If you're a lower tier, you can look up and choose. So it would probably be something like lower tier towards one of the corner flags, and then try and get the adjacent one to the opposite corner flag. Something like that, probably. I don't think it'll be great. Sorry. Most people really didn't care for that question, but I'm sorry, Spurs. Peter Shiratsky says, hi, James. Salah, Trent, or Diaz, Trent to KDB, Vardy for a -4. Diaz, Trent out, I think. Stuart B62, play Rodgers or Murphy. I'm going to say Rodgers. Sorry, again, just checking a couple of messages. One of them's about Bilbao. Chris Fisher's afternoon, mate. I'm on free hit after a mess up with my Arseman chip. Who would you captain out of Haaland, KDB, Bumo, etc.? I'm going, well, if you're on free hit, you captain Haaland, I think, with the information that's going around now. I think you do, yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to bring him in. But I think I'm fucking ditching Marmouche. Fucking it's not right. Well, it is right because he's not playing. It's going to be Cunha for me. I think Wood is better for this week, but I think all in for all three, I think it's Cunha across the three. There's a bit of confliction for me there. Final day against Brentford. But I might go him to Evan Nilsson there. See me moving Watkins on at that point as well, though. Who's my back three final day? So Vardiol, Saliba. Not Vardiol, Saliba. Vardiol, Kivior. Guess it depends on the status. Forest, Chelsea, doesn't it? I wouldn't fancy Collins at Wolves for a clean sheet anyway. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Cunha. I think so. Has my wife got Marmouche? I'll do her a favour, wouldn't I? Wifey, word on the street is that Marmouche is not going to start. He's a substitute. That's what's being said. See, I'm a good husband. Stuart B62 says play Rogers or Murphy. I've done that. Clive Fish, afternoon mate. I've done that. Moonman, Modern Legend, drunk. Yeah, I'm a bit better than I was yesterday. Dunk to Nico or just start Kirkes. Cheers from Canada. I'll probably just start Kirkes. That's what you affecting Brian Williams to play him ahead of Kirkes. You probably aren't. The only thing is, I mean, does that improve your team 37 as well? It probably does. Yeah, do you know what? I'd do it. Yeah, thinking about the 37 fixtures, yeah, I'd do it. Daniel Tomatis says, hi, James, chasing Asensio to Sade or Mateta to Vissa. Already got Bumo and Fleck and Forts. Quite like the Asensio to Sade move, and you also said you're chasing. George von Schreiber says, hi James, I've done that one for someone else earlier in the stream, mate. I said it probably 1.3, but for Bruggen. Simon Eeks says, hi James, would you do Savinha to KDB for -4 or play Rogers? At this stage, I'd probably do the -4, I think. Every chance. Right, I need to look into my own fucking team here, don't I? Cunha. Andrew Sands says, how's the hangover, James? Riding the Coyote train this week. Soul Trippier, teeing up a bench boost 37. Good luck. Weekend 49 says, hi, James. Which two would you start out of 8? Norrie, Session, Kanate and Trippier? Probably the first two, mate. Simon Baker says, James, I heard that Alex Trembath, aka FP Odyssey, is persisting with Kudus in his team. Should we arrange an intervention? Sounds like a cry for help to me. No, he knew what he was doing. Listen, Alex is one of the deepest thinking FPL managers I know. Right? He'll have his reasons, mate. Liam Doyle says, hi James, 1 free transfer, 1.4 in the bank. Would you sell Bowen to KDB and Mateta to Vissa if the City Team League, which we think we've got it? Havissak and Marmouche up front. Cheers, well done on making the final. Smash the likes. I think you're sorting out a Marmouche problem here, aren't you, mate? So it's Marmouche at this stage now. It's Marmouche. It's going to be Marmouche to Vissa for you, isn't it? Ultimately. Keir Morrison says, shout out Mark Russell, hope you both well. Keir Morrison, g'day James. 1 free transfer, Rogers to KDB, Mateta to Vissa. If KDB, but we get leak of Marmouche bench, take a hit from Marmouche to Vissa too. Yes. A lot of these questions are obviously kind of dated a little bit now. Kali Hosta says, hi mate, would you do a bench boost this game on next? Of course, team dependent. I said near the start I'd get rid of that. D-Taff says, hi James, is Watkins not a captain option? I expect him to be in your top 10, giving me cold feet now, mate. Like if you think so, sure. And I think there'll be goals in the game, but which one of the 10 would you put in? I mean, admittedly, I'd take Marmouche out of there now. But I'd arguably put Mateta over Watkins just for this week specifically. Haaland pretty much would go to the top. I think if you're going to Haaland, you captain him, aren't you? Surely, I think so. Should I be doing that? It's take out. It's only take out. Couldn't you? Take out Watkins for me. Is the only real route there. I'm just not keen on this Salah to De Bruyne stuff personally. Even with the information that he's starting, not massively keen. But should that be ignored? I mean, I can even go like Rogers to De Bruyne. I could just do that for free. And stick Marmouche on the bench and go 3-5-2. No, I'm gonna go Cunha. Live by the sword. Probably die falling on it. KP says, hi James, what would you say is the best Man City ITK account to follow? The ones that give us the information. Done that. Michaelis says, hi James, amazing job you're doing. What you think from -4 for Forest defender for either Conte or Burn? Nah. Ben Tyler says, hi James, I'm bench boosting with Pickford, Anderson, Rogers and Collins. Would you make any moves with a free transfer? It's fine. It's fairly reasonable, mate. It's not too bad at all, that. Voyes, hope you're well. Rumblefish says, I have the funds to go Marmouche to Haaland. Any reason why I shouldn't? And if you can do it for free, crack on. I can't do it for free. It needs another transfer for me. And as said, I don't think he's the best captaincy shout, 37, 38. And I spoke about this yesterday. It closes the door for me on the likes of Saka, Palmer. Sometimes just rein it in, maybe. I definitely want to get to one of them two next week, I think. So no, I'm reining this in. I'm going Cunha. Pretty sure that's what I'm doing. He doesn't really know. Raj says, Isak to Vissa for free. I'm going to say no, but if you want to chase, yeah, sure. Morecambe, no, I've skipped a couple here. Vishnam says, hit for Chris Wood or start Luis Diaz if we get news Marmouche doesn't start. It's Chris Wood all day now, mate. Morecambe says, if we get news that Marmouche doesn't start, bring Saka off the bench. We're transferring Cunha. I think I prefer Saka and roll. Would you agree? If that's what you want to do, crack on. Vishnu says, what's your take on free at 37? Biggest differentials and differential captain for free at 37? Sure. Yeah, you answering your own question. If you think it's best, work away, mate. I can't see your team. Harvey Marshall says, hi James, where would you put Barnes on the bench in dilemmas? Cheers. I think Gordon plays, so probably in between Rodgers and Bradley, probably. Raj, I've done George Hislop, Collins or 8 Nori. I'm going to say 8 Nori if it's just which one to start. Terra Amjid says, would you change Arsman from Glasner or save the transfer? I'd probably save, but I'd feel sorry for people that are in that situation. Taras, I've done Darren Shannon. Hi James, I'm trying to win my money mini league. I have 3 chips remaining, triple captain, bench boost and free hit. Which week should I use each chip? Crap, Christ on a stick. Bench boost now. Decide the next bit next week. Michaelis says, hi James, but I can't see your team. You might have shit, Darren. Hi James, amazing job you're doing. I think I've already done that one, Joe, but thank you. John Egil, Johansson, Ray or Pickford this game with Pickford, Sam Robertson on wildcard this week, bench boost next week. Any sneaky differential thoughts for game week 37? Bilal El Canoes. There you go. There's a fucking name for you. Omar, I'm not reading your whole team out, bruv. Fucking hell. You mentioned something about Marmouche, so you'll know your answer. Chill Dude 22. Hi James, I need money for Boomo. Do I sell Salah, Palmer, Saka, Bowen, or Isak or Wood? Saka to Bowen. Salah to Palmer, Saka to Bowen, Isak to Wood. Don't love any of them moves, mate. Leave it. Zubin says, hey James, double up on shit. Lost my place in the chat. 4 minutes to deadline, guys. Double up on City defence. Already have Vardy. I'll get 8 Nori instead. 8 Nori. Deventra Docker says, news on Strand Larson, Murillo -8 hits to replace them, play bench boost. As said earlier, I think Murillo will play. Strand Larson we also believe is probably trained, but he's less certain to just walk back into the Wolves team, I'd say. Any Brentford leaks? Yeah, no Tony. Darren, you should try comedy, mate. I swear to God, mate. Sorry, I'm checking on messages and I'm thinking they obviously need to make my own transfer as well. I really didn't want to be making a transfer this week. There we go. I can't pretend that Marmouche has been wonderful anyway. It's known that even he could come off the bench in a fixture like this. It's right, isn't it, to sell him? Okay, I'm going to do what I said. Marmouche to Cunha. Add player. Make transfer. Confirm. Done. And if Marmouche is in the team, then that's my own fault. But there you go. If anyone needs it. I'm not got a fucking reason to lie, have I? No one's copying James, are they? We are circa just over 2 minutes from deadline, guys. Devendra, I've done. Michaelis, I've done that a few times, mate. Come on, buddy. Vitali Z says 1 free transfer. Mateta to Vissa, Savinho to KDB. It's the second one now, isn't it? Nice Godfrey, hi, mate. Double up on Brentford and go for Vissa or go for Cunha. I would go Vissa over Cunha. Already got Vissa. Frank Smith says, why do you have Chris Wood so low for captaincy? I think he's second only to Bumo. Cool, you still ain't captaining them, are you? Scott Alvarez says, I'm from Bilbao, James. Tell me if you need any recommendations for spots. A few people could do with a sofa, mate. Peter Vossos, I'm not one of them, fortunately. Bench one of Saka, Bowen, Watkins. Grim. Saka. Theo2303, chat, anyone got yeah, it's all sorted, mate. Matt Martin says best free captain left over the last 3 games. I'm gonna say Bumo this week, Watkins 37, Evan Nilsson 38 as it stands. We'll see. Possibly Saka both the next 2 weeks might suddenly come back into contention. Varun says thanks for all your efforts throughout the season, much appreciated. Bench boost this week with Pickford, Gibbs White, O'Brien and Munoz/Nico Williams, or this week. What I mean next week is like, it's too much shit can go wrong next week with the 2 games on the Tuesday, mate. Yeah, got that. Thank you for people putting it in the chat. Jack B says, which defensive options do you prefer? Munoz 36, Kivior 37, 38, or Nico Williams each week? Quite like Williams each week. Cizan says, hi James, don't have a question, just tune and say good luck. You too. Paulie G, yep, we got it. Thank you, no best. Gavin, yeah. John Mayer, thank you. Zach, on free hit this week. Can't pick my forward line. I need 3 out of Wood, Visser, Cunha, Marmoush, Haaland. It's all day long. I mean, for the record now, it would be Haaland, Visser, Wood probably is the free hit free. John says, hello James. Is that thoughts based on recent form? Hold. Thanks Sham. Chris Moss, would you start KDB? Would you start KDB with questions? Yeah. JR, yeah, got it. Tanky, yeah, got it. DTAF, that team news landed nice. Gave me the excuse to move my Marmoush to Vissa and allowed me to get Pep in for Iriola locked. Yeah, might have done that for a few people, actually. That is, as far as I'm concerned, guys, deadline. And game was updated. So, there we go. Done. I did go Marmoush to Cunha. For those who've just joined in now, I don't know why I'd be joining in now, because more likely people are going to leave. If you came just for the FPL stuff, please smash a like, hit the sub button. Thank you as ever for joining me in the chat. If anyone's got any non-FPL questions, happy to cover them off for 10 minutes or so. Next week's content, I can tell you, Game Review Podcast Monday will be with Clayton. Tuesday is going to be Clayton and James, going to be on Tuesday this week now. Ask James is probably going to be Wednesday. Clash of Correspondence Thursdays, Manchester City versus Bournemouth with Johnny Pringle and Neil Grover. And I'm going to have something out with Lee Jackson most likely on Friday about Villa assets ahead of next weekend. And also Lee's having an absolute stormer in FPL. He's top 2k at the moment. So we're going to talk to him about his FPL team a little bit as well if he wants to. I haven't told him that, Lee, if you're watching. Sorry, mate, you're talking about FPL as well, mate. There is a deadline stream next Friday night. I'm not going to Aston Villa. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/planetfpl. Haven't quite decided on the podcast next week, but it'll definitely be Q&A Monday. It'll definitely be a game review preview Friday. It'll almost definitely be Tottenham on Wednesday. There will be plenty of content. For the week after, by the way, in terms of public content, it's going to be skeleton because I'm going to be in Bilbao and I'm not taking the mic and the laptop. I'm doing me time. But I'm working on avenues to have pre-recorded podcasts out for you whilst I'm away. But I can't say anything about that yet because nothing is confirmed and set in stone. But it's going to be a very busy week or so for me, which I'm looking forward to. Then I can relax for a couple of days. Jet setting all over Spain, pretty much. Breaking news from David. We've got another comedian. Jamie Pollock is not in the Manchester City lineup. Zubin says waited all week for the City news. Thanks to you, got Cunha as well. Let's hope for a big score. Cheers. William to Jagar. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Marmoush outscores Cunha even this week, mate. But I think with that information so late in the season, it's got to be moved on, really, hasn't it? Um, William says good luck all. Ryan says good luck all. King Meng has a similar message. Nordbane says, why do all sell Marmouche? It's not like he can't start with Haaland like he has done a lot before. Because the leaks going around are suggesting that he's not, mate. Okay, that's the information that went round, was that he's not starting. So it was Haaland, KDB start. Marmouche does not. That's the message that was going around. You can check Lazy FPL's tweet at 111 if you like. De Bruyne starts, Marmouche doesn't. They're pretty reliable. Doesn't mean it's 100% accurate, but it's pretty reliable. How have I ended up with only one Man City player? Mind you, I've had a good FPL season and I didn't own any Manchester City players until blank Gameweek 29. So with Vardy playing at centre back, I probably just would have still been better off just completely ignoring him, actually. Dara Sam Maguire says, congrats again, James. Hopefully Champions League for you next season. Do you know what? I not even really thought about the being in Champions League aspect of it if we win the trophy. And I don't think I will much because we'll bomb to fucking it, mate. That would be terrible. So I'm not even really thought about that. I'd be good, right? But I'm not even really thought about that aspect of it. I think more about how to get to Udine. Yeah, I've already been looking. Super Cup final, if you was wondering. Couple of questions. I looked at that before the semi-final. Shh, don't tell anyone. Couple of questions. What's the news with Son? Who would you need to boost her for next season? Also, thoughts on Arsenal next year. So Ange is hoping that Son can play some minutes tomorrow. I think they'll want to do that. And then maybe looking at him trying to get sort of like 45 to 60 minutes maybe on Friday. Who do we need next season, mate? We need a whole new fucking team, mate. The players have stepped up in these European games recently, but ultimately, and it's right that people criticised Ange, them players are not good enough for what I want to be as a football team. I know it. If you're watching, guys, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Make me happy. I believe you can win, by the way, but I don't believe that this squad is getting back in like the top 4 next year or anything like that. We need massive improvements. Thoughts on Arsenal next year? Don't care, mate. Don't care. I've said, I've been it off. If it stays, stays. If it doesn't, doesn't. I've been clear on that. I'm not a big fan of it. I think most people haven't really liked it. And also, it went well for me, right? Fucking smashed it, really, with my choices. But no, I would sack it off, personally. Field Buck has got a triple captaincy on Haaland. Matt Martin, Spurs Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year, and one you're most excited about. Spurs Player of the Year would be Kulusevski over the course of the whole year. But I haven't voted for anyone, and that is the correct decision because no one was really deserving enough of that vote. Young Player of the Year for us would be Bergveld. The way he's improved. In terms of the league, I think Young Player of the Year, probably Morgan Rogers. But I think about that a bit more. I don't even know who the nominees were, but I think for me, probably Morgan Rogers. One I'm most excited about for Spurs would be like Mikey Moore. Another name I think you'll hear about more next year is Luke Williams-Barnett, who you'll hear about next year as well, who is a super talent. We've got some really good kids coming through again, both defensively and offensively. Malachi Hardy and Janai Byfield, a couple defensively to keep an eye on. I don't think these guys will be involved in the first team. I'd say a name that might well end up in Tottenham's first team next year, someone you probably haven't heard of, is Luka Vuskovic, who's we bought a couple of years ago from, I think, Hajduk Split, but definitely a Croatian team. He's been out on loan with Westerlo in Belgium, and he's a powerful unit despite being a young boy. He's a centre back, and I would expect him to be involved with the first team next year. Jack, that's not to say he's like going to be a starter, but I expect him to be involved. We'll see him next year. Jack B says, do you think only results in that competition should count towards a club's European coefficient? It seems wrong that a team can beat a load of rubbish in the UEFA Conference League and be pot 1 or 2 in the Champions League. The only thing with the pots now, Jack, is a bit irrelevant, isn't it? Really. I mean, the pots, they are irrelevant now. Their only relevance is making sure that there are some high coefficient teams that also play each other. So there isn't even that much of an advantage. There's not really any advantage in terms of what pots you're in, really. It's not. That it really doesn't matter anymore with the way that the competition works. I just think it's irrelevant. You can be in pot one and get an absolutely brilliant draw, or a really shit draw, and it's the same with pot four. The seeding of it doesn't really matter now, does it? From that perspective, so I don't think it matters. I have looked at it in the past and thought, yeah, you are beating crap teams and your coefficient is jumping. But I also don't think it particularly matters now, mate. The only thing really the coefficient matters now for is actually a qualification for the Club World Cup. Is irrelevance. So if there was no for the if you haven't got, so City and Chelsea gone in because they won the Champions League, right? But if there hadn't been a Champions League winner, it would have gone on a coefficient. So I think that would have been, if City or Chelsea hadn't won it, I think Liverpool would have gone in instead. I think it was a max 2 from one country. So that's almost like all it's relevant for now, mate. Well, I don't think it matters too much, Joke. Yes, Nico sending me places for Bilbao, you hero. Sponsored by Reality. Hi, James. I'm a Man United fan and find it strange that we're being considered favourites over yourselves, having lost all 3 games against you. Do you agree and think that we are faves, and if so, why? So, I feel like I've already repeated myself twice over on this this week. I spoke about it quite a bit on the Ask James stream yesterday. Firstly, been the 3 games this season. You're all irrelevant. Relevant, and I'll break it down. I explained in more detail yesterday, but first game, Ten Hag. Second game, Cup quarter final with rotations. Third game, after your squad was sick and ill, you basically couldn't make a substitution in the game, right? So sack all them off. And I do think, yes, Manchester United are rightly favourites. I think United have a more reliable structure. They have a more reliable manager. And have more X factor players, and in Bruno Fernandes, someone who is truly world class, who is probably likely to be the decisive figure in the game. So I think United, yes, are rightly favourites. I saw Opta did 10,000 simulations. This is crazy. He did 10,000 simulations of the game, and I think United won 5,007 and Tottenham won 4,993 or something. So it does give you an idea that he's quite close. I think that's right. I think also the couple of injuries we've got in midfield recently has not been helpful to Maddison and Bergvall, and it feels like you're getting players back who might just have an impact at the right time. Listen, yes, even Dallo might be back. Mason Mount obviously got to cut the goals midweek. I just think you're stronger. You've got more depth in terms of what you can change, I think, as substitutes during the game. So I think it's right your favourites. We definitely beat her, but I think, yeah, United are the right favourites. Spikey says, you forced my support to United in the final. Frowning hammer. Spikey, I'd be disappointed if you supported my team, mate. Almost says, yeah, mate, good thing you didn't bother with my questions. I was outdated after the leaks and I already had free hit active. Given, wasn't it? Taj says, Captain Cunha, good luck. Dara Sam Maguire says, also thoughts on KDB to Liverpool next season. Strong rumours, but doesn't suit our transfer agenda. Someone asked me that yesterday. Ian, no one said it in here, mate. So I think sorry, mate. I think it was just you, buddy. Yeah, it was mentioned to me yesterday. I don't see that personally. No, I don't see it, Dara. I certainly wouldn't be like, oh my god, what Liverpool done? Of course not, right? It's, from a neutral perspective, he's near enough my favourite ever Premier League player. I don't see it personally. Jürgen says, I triple captain Haaland and I'm hiding behind the couch right now. Well, it's no point hiding behind it, mate. Mark says, with tourism to the US declining, do you expect to see fewer fans willing to travel there for the World Cup next summer? Maybe. But I think ultimately football fans want to go to the football, mate, and won't think about much else. So the people want to go will go, I think, ultimately. Nihar says, did Salah to KDB for a hit low in all the chaos? Gavin Richardson says, non-FPL, have you ever tried manchego cheese? It's Spanish. My favourite Spanish cheese. Highly recommend for when you're out there. Thanks, mate. Do you know what? I'm not a big cheese head, Gavin. Cheese and my body don't go well together, truthfully. So I'm not a massive cheese head, but thank you, mate. Birth Media says, what do you think of Arseman for Dark? Can we not fucking all the time? You know, I don't really want to do FPL now, man. What do you think of Arseman for one game week and free hit 15 players instead of 11? Oh, you mean that as a different chip? Okay, sorry. Really thought that was going to be, what do you think of Arseman next week? So free hit a bench boost is what you're saying, right? Arseman for one game week. I think the danger with the one week Arseman is you just end up with, Stott's got 2 games. Bosh. Everyone's doing the same thing. At least actually this year people played it in different ways. Greg says it's mental that Europa League final is only 11 days away. Yeah, it is a little bit, yeah. Howard Green says, good luck in Bilbao. Cheers for always looking for us freeloaders. Or looking out for us freeloaders. I will try. King of Mandalore says, best food you've had on a European away. I'll tell you what wasn't. Was the lasagna I had in Prague. I had the same problem before Tottenham went to West Ham a couple of years earlier. Best food I've had on the away tour. Fucking hell, Dave. I had a brilliant meal in Milan last year, but I can't remember what it was. But it was really nice. I can't remember if it was. It was a pasta. I think. I can't remember. It was nice though. That was nice in Milan. You expect that in Milan, didn't you? I can't think what else. Had a meal in Munich, was alright. Okay, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was alright. I'll say that in Milan, but I can't remember exactly what it was, mate. Sorry. I'll tell you where it was. I don't know the name of the place, but I'd find it on a map for you. Gary Robinson, answer your DM on Slack. Yes. Go to your DM on Slack, please, mate. Thanks. Trivia question, James. When was the last time a striker was highest scorer in a game week? Crap. Don't know. Is it Solanke against Villa? Imagine. Could be, actually. I don't know. I'd have to look, and I can't at the moment because the website's closed. So, go on, tell us. Ryan Welsh has decided to keep Marmouche and move on Mateta to Cunha. Likely will come off the bench. Don't see Haaland playing full 90. And if Haaland starts in FA Cup, more likely Marmouche will start Bournemouth. I think we're in an overthink mode here, Ryan, but I wish you luck, mate. Gavin Richardson says, who do you think Spurs will sell in the summer? I think Toon will sell Willett, Longstaff, and one of Gordon Barnes. Romero will go, fairly certain of that. I think they'll try and move Richarlison on. I think I've said this a few times recently, particularly on our Patreon pods. Every player in that squad should be available for transfer if the offer is good enough for them, because it needs that much of a restructure that we're going to have to take a couple of one-step backs for 2 forwards, in my opinion. So there isn't a single player there that I'd be like, oh my god, we have to keep. Not one. Even say like a Mickey van der Ven, because I think Mickey van der Ven is one more hamstring or injury away from being in trouble. So if there was a huge offer for Mickey, I think even the club should consider it. So there's no one that wouldn't be available for transfer for me. Kevin Maher says, Coney Spurs, James, I bunked off score in 1972 to go up to Wolverhampton for the first leg. Bilbao sounds much more exotic. How many tickets are we getting? My dad was there at Molineux 1972 as well, mate. It's easier to get to, I should imagine, even in the 70s than fucking Bilbao's going to be. We've got 15,000 tickets, mate, officially. And I don't think we'll be taking that many. Well, there's plenty of people who book flights and not going to have tickets. So, but I don't think we're going to have many more than that in the ground. I think we'll probably be outnumbered. I think United, after their first leg, absolutely knew that they could steam into everything if they wanted to. So I think we'll be a little bit outnumbered in the final as well in the stadium. I would imagine in the city will be outnumbered as well, but it'll probably split the two fan base in two halves. You won't even notice. Yeah, 15,000 officially, basically. Jacob S is really against the crowd now. Last minute Marmouche to Evan Nilsson. Good luck. Dally Paul was a wee place called McDonald's or something. Yeah, probably McDonald's in Brussels with mayonnaise. That one sticks out in the mind. In fact, I had a brilliant kebab wrap from a kebab place in Brussels. That would have been 2015, I think. I didn't even have a ticket, but still went. I couldn't get a ticket and I let away. King of Mandalore. No Anthony Robinson again. Oh yeah, we've got team lineups, haven't we? We should I should do them for you quickly. Okay, we'll start Wolves Brighton. Larson is a substitute. It's a start for Guedes in place of Bellegarde. Otherwise, it's what you'd have expected. Tariq Lamptey back in the Brighton team. Mitoma is a substitute. So Adam Webster back in the team as well. No Lewis Dunk. A few people were asking about selling him. No Lewis Dunk in that Brighton team. So it's Webster and Van Heck at centre-back. Lamptey's back in a Stupinan. Vifa back up into midfield with Baleba, Yari. And you've got O'Reilly, Welbeck, Minter. It feels like quite a negative Brighton team now. Okay. Ipswich, Transabi back in at right back. Greaves stays at left back. O'Shea back in with Burgess. That's the back line that I had predicted. There's one change to the team I had up. So Connor Chaplin's retained his place. Ben Johnson back from the suspension is only a substitute. The Brentford team is the exact team that you would have expected. For Fulham, as I said, looks like Ryan Sessegnon at left back. Harry Wilson, Smith Rowe and Iwobi behind Jimenez. Pereira joins Sander Berge in central midfield. Everton, Decore back in the team. It's Dwight McNeil, who's dropped out though, interestingly. Jack Harrison retains his place, and Iliman and Dye has also dropped out, not in the starting 11. So it's Decore, Harrison, Alcaraz behind Beto. And I've got a problem. No O'Brien in the squad. Ashley Young at right back. Michael Keane at centre back. Patterson is a substitute. O'Brien is not in the squad. The Manchester City team is Edison, Lewis, Akanji, Diaz, Vardy at left back, Kovacic, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, McAtee, Foden, Haaland. You see why I didn't want to go for any other midfielder. So Doku played really well last week, not in the team. Savinho not in the team. I called that completely wrong. Mind you, I say Vardy left back. It could well be then move Lewis high from right back, and he stays as like a left-sided centre back. Marmouche is a substitute for the record. The Southampton team, there's a start for Tyler Dibbling. No natural 9 in the team. Wellington is in at left wing back for Ryan Manning. James Bree is in for Cole Walker-Peters at right wing back. Walker-Peters not in the squad. Has been linked with moves away from the club as well. So I would guess it'd be one of Fernandes or Dibbling as false 9. I think that's your lineup's covered. Okay, interesting. Oh, damn. The best AM for next week, Potter. Avis says, hi, James. Could we... Do we not? No more FPL. Okay. Thanks, Avis. Vindaloo, great cider in the Basque Country. Enjoy your trip, man. I do like a cider. Sam Watson, I hope you're well, mate. How do you think Chelsea will do next season? Sorry. Recommend listening to the Game Review podcast last week for more on that, mate. Very well, potentially, if they keep that 11 that's played last weekend, if it can be fit, then very well is the answer. Tanky is bench boosted with O'Brien. Bit of a shame. Yeah, well, That's a problem for me, mate. For next week, 'cause obviously the idea there have been double Everton defence. That doesn't leave me in terrible shape next week. I'm always going to play Vardy. To be honest, it was quite open next week anyway. Like Collins at home to Fulham, Williams at West Ham, Kivior at home to Newcastle. It was always going to be quite open next week anyway. So not a disaster if he's going to be unavailable. I don't think I'll be moving that on. I'd rather focus my transfers elsewhere. Okay, that's a wrap. Love you lots. Smash a like, hit the sub button if you can support the show and help keep the lights on, although there aren't any. And help me produce free content like this. Please support the show at www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. Do it, please, only if you can afford to do so, and if you want to support the show, or because you want access to additional podcasts, videos, streams, the community, all that jazz. Have a great weekend, everyone. Hope your arrows are green. Clayton will be back with me for the Game Review podcast on Monday. Remember, next week, the deadline is early. It is now a 6 p.m. UK deadline next Friday. So deadline stream will be at 5 o'clock UK time. It's coming Friday. Good luck, everyone. Have a great weekend. Ciao for now.